Hello, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Laurel Schulert, and I'm the head of Learning, Design, and Development here at SAP.
And I am Bob Hutton. I'm a director of product marketing here at lovely SAP Concur. And the session that we are going to be presenting today is Bold Voices, Bright Futures, Building Your Brand and Career with Purpose. But as we have limited time, we're just going to dive right into that agenda. So what you can expect for this presentation today is kind of a two-part. The first part is going to be Laurel going over growth mindsets and how you can build your personal brand, and then really dive into your mission and vision. And then following, I will be doing a session on more of the Concur admin. So what you can do in your roles, in your current organizations to actually embolden and help you achieve some of these goals. So really exciting session, but again, limited time, so I'm just going to kick it back over to Laurel.
All right, thanks, Bob. So here at SAP Concur, we have a tagline that's often used in our employee engagement groups, and that's when our people are at their best, our business is at its best. And this sentiment is really today's core message for our conversation with you. When you show up at work as your best self, you not only benefit yourself, but your entire organization benefits. Our goal for today is to lead you to enhance your career by developing yourself and your SAP Concur program. We'll share a few stories and we'll ask you to reflect on a few activities that you can do to help realize your goals. So this is actually me here in this photo, and SAP gives us 8 hours every quarter to go out and do community service in our local communities. And when I was first hired here, I was working remotely in the state of Michigan. We have no office in Michigan. And I found myself wondering if I was the only SAP employee in the whole state. Turns out I'm not. There's about 200 of us. And what I realized was rather than going out and doing community service on my own, I could build community around me by inviting other employees to join me. So I found a farm in Detroit that was willing to host us. And at the very first event, we actually had over 20 people show up from SAP, which is more than 10% of our employees in the whole state. And we've continued to go back to that same farm every single quarter for 8 years now, which is pretty incredible. And this has been a really wonderful team building experience for us. And for me, when I'm able to give back to my community and my employer, it's how I show up as my best self. And all of this is correlated to really high engagement on the job for me, higher commitment to SAP, and honestly, personal career and leadership development. So this is just one example of how personal and professional development can be so closely linked. Let's explore a few more. Stanford psychology professor Dr. Carol Dweck has spent her entire career studying how people cope with failure. But she quickly realized cope is the wrong word. She says, for some people, failure is the end of the world. But for others, it's a really exciting new opportunity. And she later coined the terms fixed mindset and growth mindset. And now, over the years, Dr. Dweck's work has evolved from studying how not only people can embody those terms of being a growth mindset or fixed mindset, but entire organizations. People with a growth mindset enjoy challenges. They're lifelong learners. They think that they have the potential to develop new skills and grow over time. They tend to achieve more in school and more over their careers than people who have that fixed mindset. They worry less about looking smart, and they put more energy into learning and experimenting. And so, like I mentioned, her work has evolved over the years from studying how individuals embody these terms to how whole entire organizations can embody these terms. When entire companies embrace that growth mindset, their employees report they feel more empowered, they feel more committed. Their organizations encourage them to collaborate more and innovate more. In contrast, if you work at a company that has that more of a fixed mindset belief, people report more issues of cheating, corruption, and deception. Maybe Concur could help identify some of those issues for them. And this could be a really interesting concept for you to explore as Concur admins. How can adopting that growth mindset help you advance in your career? What mindset does your organization more closely resemble, growth or fixed? If you're interested in reading more about Dr. Dweck and her work, she's published a book called Mindset. Harvard Business Review has several articles on her work, and she has a TED Talk with over 15 million views. And now I'd like to share a story of one of our colleagues here at SAP Concur, who's known for her embodiment of the growth mindset. Her name is Montana. Montana was actually an SAP Concur customer several years ago who led the rollout of Concur systems at her employer. Let's hear from Montana.
I hired Montana because I was impressed not only with her applicable job skills, but because she was open to trying new things and learning from both successes and failures. I appreciated her creativity as I worked with her on a presentation for Fusion when she was still a customer. I would describe her as hungry for experiences and knowledge that would help her grow. For example, she wanted to do change management, which wasn't part of her job description, but was a need in our organization. We sent her to training for that, and she embraced it marvelously, becoming an important resource in our broader team to help managers and others through change.
I do think that growth mindset is really is something that you have to go into each day, personally and professionally, and really decide and commit to do. So for me, when it comes to learning new things and doing new things, I really try to kind of leave the ego at the door and make sure that I'm really open to feedback, and I'm trying to be very intentional about collaborating with people, especially people who I would say are smarter than me, know more about a topic than I do that I'm interested in, or that would help me to excel or accelerate in my career.
Montana embodies the open mindset for me. Someone who boldly takes on new things, fails quickly if she must, and learns from that experience to make her effort better. In my career, many people don't take on big new tasks because they're afraid to make a mistake and would rather stay within their secure comfort zone of past experience. But it's through these efforts that we make ourselves invaluable to an organization, like Montana did.
I think the best way to go about really accelerating your career and continuing to develop and really utilize that growth mindset has to do with finding things in your current work environment that energize you, that get you excited, that get you up in the morning and get you motivated to be there on time, to care about what you do, and really identify those things and hopefully pursue those. Find what you love and what you're really good at in the career that you're in, and use those to accelerate your career. Use those to motivate you and to keep you coming back, and find ways, like I said, to utilize the resources that you have available to you to grow and develop and continue taking feedback and continue working with people who know more than you, who see things a little differently than you do, and use those things to motivate you and to continue learning and developing professionally.
So as we heard in Montana's story, she's become known for her embodiment of the growth mindset, for being really eager to learn and grow and take on new experiences. And hopefully this inspired you, but maybe you're wondering where to begin in your own journey. For our first activity, we're going to do a quick visioning exercise. A really common coaching technique for athletes is to visualize themselves achieving their dream performance. For example, hitting a home run in baseball. And workplace performance doesn't have to be any different. If you can really imagine what a home run looks like for you in your setting, you can feel the weight of the bat in your hands, you can hear the crowd roaring, you're so much more likely to actually accomplish that goal someday. The leader who first promoted me to be a manager here once asked me a really thought-provoking question. And it's a question that I return to year over year and ask myself and ask my team. And that question is, what do you want to be known for? And there it is. That question is, what do you want to be known for? So we're going to give you a minute here, just a quick minute, to answer this question with the first thing that comes to your mind, because the first thing you think of will be really powerful. When people think about you and your work, what do you want to be known for? I really encourage you to pause this video here and take a minute and just do some quick journaling on what you want to be known for, so you can reflect on that vision as we go throughout the session today. And once you have this vision for yourself clear in your mind, consider how it aligns with your personal brand or what others think of you. Whenever you're pursuing a new opportunity or trying to create a new opportunity for yourself, whether it's in your current organization or as an external candidate somewhere else, others have to be able to see you in the role. And this is where personal branding comes in. It means taking control of your reputation. Having that strong personal brand is how you stand out from the crowd. And that opens the door for you for professional opportunities. The key to a strong brand is that it has to be supported by your network. It's more than how you see yourself, and it's reliant on how others see you. So a few aspects that make up your personal brand are your core values, your personality traits, your skills, your strength, and your vision for yourself. I'll give you an example of how my personal brand has actually benefited me in my career. Outside of SAP in recent years, I presented at external conferences in my industry, learning and development. And I worked at SAP for probably 7 years before I ever got invited to be part of this Fusion event. And I had FOMO. I wanted to be here with all of you learning more about Concur. And when the Fusion team heard that I was involved in external conferences, I actually got the invitation to come here and present and lead this session. So that's just one example of how my brand as a speaker opened the door for me to be here with all of you today. So now that you've identified your values and your traits and other important aspects of your personal brand, it's time to think about how these aspects impact how you show up at work. It's not uncommon to feel imposter syndrome when you're new in a role, or maybe if you're just considering applying for a different role someday. So when you have these thoughts, it's really crucial to know the value that you bring, so you have the confidence to pursue new opportunities and the fortitude to succeed once you're there. I'll give you another example from my career here. Many years ago, I actually began my career as a high school teacher. And at the time, I wasn't very much older than the students, and standing up in front of the class was sometimes terrifying. So another teacher gave me advice that I used then, and it's advice that I continue to use in my career throughout this day. She said, "Laurel, you need to develop your teacher persona. It's not who you are outside of work, but it's how you show up in front of others here in the classroom." And I realized that for me, in my teacher persona, I needed to radiate confidence, assume that position of authority, and establish that I was the leader in that setting. And now, high school classrooms are very challenging in ways that many corporate work environments are not, but having that persona is advice that I've carried forward and used multiple times at different points in my career. When I first wanted to be a leader here at SAP, I realized it was time for me to build that leader persona so that others saw me as capable and credible and ready for that next step in my career. And I did this in 3 main ways. I stepped up to lead larger projects at work. I had that vision for myself, so I made my vision known, and I wasn't shy about sharing the fact that I aspired to hold a leadership role in this business one day. And then outside of work, I volunteered on the board of directors for a local nonprofit, and in doing so, I gained actual leadership experience that I wasn't getting on the job yet. And that gave me not only resume lines, but things I could talk about during interviews. And for me, taking actions based on my values, my personality, my skills, my strengths, it really gave me the ability to embody that leadership persona that I hoped that I would be someday. The workplace needs good people doing good work. And having that clear understanding of your personal brand and really intentionally taking actions to show up as a positive force goes such a long way in helping you both gain opportunities and succeeding at them. So this brings us to the next action that I highly recommend everyone take, and that's working with your team to write mission and vision statements. Now, these concepts are sometimes used interchangeably, but they actually mean 2 different things and serve 2 different purposes. Your mission defines your organization's objectives and how you plan to reach them. Your vision is more future-focused. It's where you're going. And now, even if your company as a whole or your larger department both already have mission and vision statements in place, there's clear value in taking the time to reflect on the unique purpose that your team serves and what is your identity within these larger groups. Defining your mission and vision together as a team is a really impactful exercise that aligns your group into a cohesive unit with a shared mindset. So shortly after moving into my first role leading a team here at SAP, I led my team in writing our mission and vision. We did this together as a group because it was really important to empower each individual to have that equal voice in defining who we were together as a group. And now that we have these statements, we come back and we look at them annually. It's part of our annual cycle of asking ourselves what we want to be known for, and then setting both individual and team goals to bring that vision into reality. And we have this mission and vision like a North Star guiding us in everything we do throughout the year, but they're not carved in stone, nor should they be. They really can and do and change and evolve over time, just like the business is constantly evolving around us. And so for us, for my teams, having these concepts in mind, that vision of our future state, the mission and vision statements, it's really led the teams that I've led to work in harmony. Having this shared definition of who we are has helped us with everything from ensuring that we're taking on the right projects, to hiring the right individuals to join the team, to supporting the business as only we can based on our unique skills and qualifications. And these are workplace challenges that I think everyone can relate to, no matter what position you're in or what industry you work in. It really shows the importance of having your mission and vision in place to guide you. So now we're going to hear from Bob, and he'll share some very valuable SAP Concur admin resources for us.
Thank you, Laurel. Just to highlight this section, this really goes into what Laurel was just talking about, understanding the mission and the vision, and also building your personal brand. With all the customers that I've talked to about their role within the organization, it really stems from their expertise in the system. So building that personal brand as a subject matter expert is really going to go a long way for you actually building that personal brand where they talk about you when you're not in the room, but also that mission and vision statement. Maybe you have one for your own team, or maybe you're contributing to the whole, but a lot of times as a Concur admin, you can actually make sure that the mission and vision statements are applicable to the broader org from your expertise in the system. So the following slides are just going to go through how we can embolden that. And one thing I will say at the beginning of this, I've heard it from a lot of people in my career, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. So you'll hear me kind of foot stomp that a few times throughout this. So just to kick this off, we're going to go over just the knowledge base. Now, the knowledge base, I'm going to get into the next slide, but as we've heard from a lot of customers, sometimes we talk about things, but we don't know actually how to get there. So all this slide is showing is actually how to navigate to the knowledge base to get all the information that I'm going to show you in a second, which is now. Also, all the links are going to be provided to you as well. So with the knowledge base, so this is what I call almost like the Google of Concur. As you can probably imagine, a lot of admins have a lot of the same questions. And so what we've done is create a repository of a lot of those lessons learned, a lot of those questions, so that you can go and self-serve. That's really beneficial as a subject matter expert in training, or someone just to embolden that brand of being that subject matter expert, because you can get those answers really, really quickly. Instead of maybe looking for an answer somewhere else or looking through a support case, this is kind of lets you have that a little bit more autonomy to get the answers. Cool thing too is, as you can see in this second box here, is that it's a search. So you can actually look and filter for what you need. So I would highly recommend not only this one, but all the slides and links that we go today, just have them in a folder for yourselves so you can have quick access to answers as you need them. Next, training. Training. This is actually something that I'm really passionate about as far as SAP Concur. We do a lot of good work bringing this information to you, the admins, but also building out these training programs. And I will say that this does get updated quite frequently. The slide that I had previously, I had to update again because it was different. They're trying to update it, get the questions on there that make the most sense so that you get the most value. The other thing, again, I'll foot stomp it, you get a record of achievement. So it does showcase what you've learned, your journey, and building out all the things that you can do to be a better admin. So not only are you getting that awesome information, but you're also able to prove it so for your employers now and then in the future. Pro tip, utilize the resources from the learning journey to enhance your own training as a SAP Concur admin. There's a reason why we have this slide after I just got talking about it. It is extremely important to enhance your own training as much as possible. Software is developing at an exponential rate these days, and we try to get these trainings to be as up-to-date as possible so that you have the latest and greatest always. So you're not learning stuff that was maybe something that came out 10 years ago that you're just getting training on. No, that's not how we do it here. We make sure that these trainings are up-to-date so that you can be as best as you can be. Quarterly digest. If no one's familiar with this, this is a really, really cool document. It's developed by our marketing team. What it is a one-stop shop. It gives you product update summaries, it gives you important dates, and links to resources. Quarterly digest, that means that every quarter you get a new one. This is actually housed in the community in the resources center. So I'll get into the community a little bit, but this is a really fascinating document because a lot of times our customers are wondering what's happening, what are the updates, give me the summaries, give me the cliff notes. This is asked and answered. This is exactly what that is. It lets you go through this really quickly. You can send it out to your executives. You can send it out to users. Anyone that you find will benefit it, but you don't have to develop yourself. Use our stuff. Use it as much as you can. We're trying to make as less work as possible for you, but also emboldens you to have that information for the individuals that need it. Now, as Concur admins, this should be the one-stop shop. I am just blown away by how we've actually made this so much better over the years. But this is the help portal. So we've migrated from Concur training over to the help portal. And what's really interesting about this one is it's a lot more easy to navigate. As you can probably tell, there's a couple of different editions here. For those of you who are not familiar, there's actually 2 editions of Concur. There's the professional edition and there's the standard edition. Now, if you're on the standard edition, there's more tiles, and professional is just a little bit more enhanced. But you'll find that out pretty quickly when you navigate to one of these pages, and the look and feel is a little bit different. But what's so interesting about these admin guides is that it does break it down by product. So if you do have a question about expense, but maybe not travel, or verify, but not necessarily audit, there are different ways to navigate and also link out. So these links are good, and then they get updated, but you don't have to update the links. So you can start to create some of your own guides based on the links provided here. On top of that, it's not just admin guides. There's user guides. There's implementation guides. So there's a lot of great content in this particular help portal. Also integrations. I'm going to foot stomp on that. Integrations are a big one that we get a lot of questions about. You can find more information on this help portal. So we have enhanced it so that we get more navigation to it. Also, there's release notes in here. So when you're looking for release notes, this is where they're housed. Another pro tip, utilize the help portal to update resources, including end user and admin training documents. Like I just said, this is where you're going to get all those links, all that information. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Let us do that work for you, and then provide that so that you can have those end user trainings as up to date as possible. Now, it's not only learning about what is happening today and all the cool benefits that you have with the various products that you are utilizing today through SAP Concur, but it's also looking ahead. This is something that we get asked about very, very frequently. What is SAP Concur doing? How are you approaching this particular solution? Where is the roadmap? This is where you get all that information, the Roadmap Explorer. Now, this is actually for all of SAP, but the link that I provided just measures it down and filtered out for Concur solutions, so it made it a little bit easier for you. What this does is it shows you what we are preparing to release in the coming quarters and years. So it's really awesome to get ahead of the game so you can prepare your executives, your end users, anyone that might be affected by the system with some guidance. So I use an example here for Verify, AI-generated receipt check. So if you look into this roadmap and you click on one of the items, it will give you an overview and the benefits. So you actually know what it is that's coming out. Another added benefit, you can bring this up to your client success manager, your expertise in care, anyone that supports your team from an account perspective, and talk through it and how it's going to affect you. So that way you can get really ahead of these things before the impact starts to roll out. You can even ask questions on the community, which I'll get to in a second. Professional development at Concur doesn't end with just you being an admin. You can actually get additional configuration training. So this is for those professional edition individuals. So as I stated earlier, there are 2 editions of SAP Concur. There's professional and standard. Standard edition, there's a little bit less options to configure, and the complexity is usually not there for various reasons, and that's usually decided by customers as they go through the implementation journey because they just don't need some of those more complex systems. Professional is more complex, so by design, we limit what admins can access and change on their own. This class does away with that. So if you want unfettered access, there is a training. I've heard it is absolutely stupendous. Every single customer that has gone through this has raved about it. There is a fee, but once you have that class done, you get complete access of your system on the professional edition, which a lot of admins really enjoy because they can make those changes on the fly and they know the repercussions of it. So it's not only getting the access, but it's also the knowledge to back it up. Again, kind of going and bolstering that subject matter expert persona that you want to build at your organization with SAP Concur admin duties. The one thing that I will definitely highlight, and this is only because we actually listened to customers that asked this question, and we got some updates from our training team, you can request a letter of attendance. So you can show that you have gone through this training and then add that to your resume and say that I have a certified copy that I've gone through this so I know the system in and out. However, there has been a change for some of you admins that maybe have done this in the past. your certification no longer follows you from organization to organization. So once you have completed for an organization, it stays there. However, you can take just the test. So let's say you are just a guru, you are the top admin of Concur at your organization, and then you take another role doing something similar at a new company. You can reach out to the training team and you can test out. There's a smaller fee for that, but then you do get that access again. So it doesn't stay with you, but we have made it available at a lower price point. The Concur community. Essentially, it's this forum in this portal. So this is where you can find like-minded individuals and also other customers and colleagues and peers that are utilizing similar solutions. So if you're using expense but not travel, well, there's a portal, there's a spot in community for you. If you're looking at travel-related questions, same thing. So there is a lot of groups and segregation between roles within community so that you really are talking to the individuals that you want to get, either ask a question of or get answers from, or even provide your own answers. One of the things that we really like about the community is we have Concurians that are monitoring this, so we do answer a lot of questions. But honestly, what we see a lot of is customers answering other customers' questions. So you might have a very specific question based on your industry, and you might find someone there that is in that same industry that has encountered that same problem, and you get an answer. So great place to network and do some just question and answer with your peers. Also, as I mentioned earlier with the Quarterly Digest, there is a lot of resources on here. So there's insights, there's FAQs, all kinds of blog posts. I mean, this is a really great portal for you just to learn and grow with SAP Concur. Big fan of this. Also, if you're not familiar with it, Champions, we'll get into a little bit of that later, and there is a link to it. Champions are I guess, elevated users. There's a sign up for that, and there's some criteria. But you get your dedicated user page for Champions as well. The cool thing about Champions is it's something that us at SAP Concur typically ask for feedback on, so you become very involved in a lot of the conceptual process for solutions. So just want to get that bug in your ear, and we'll address that in a little bit as well. And the last thing I'll leave you off with from my portion is joining professional networks. Specifically, Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. As you know, being Concur admins, compliance is really paramount to our system. It is one of the biggest benefits of having a system like SAP Concur within your organization. And being a part of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners really highlights a lot of those similarities. And then you might find some like-minded individuals as well and just ask those questions of how they've used their system in different ways. The other one is Global Business Travel Association. Kind of makes sense as we have our travel solution. GPTA is a big organization. I've talked with customers that have found an entire community of Concur admins by joining some of these GPTA sections. So look at them both. They're really great. You might find some Concur admins to talk shop with. With that, I'm going to pass it back over to Laurel.
Thank you so much, Bob. So hopefully our presentation today inspired you to take ownership of your career by following your curiosity. We began with telling that story about how I started those community service events for SAP employees in Detroit 7, almost 8 years ago now. We've continued to go back every single quarter. If you remember, I said we had 20 people come to the very first event. This is actually us here at that first event. And if you look behind us, you'll see a wireframe structure. That's actually a greenhouse that we helped build that day that we were there. And it helps that farm continue to operate all year round because being in Michigan, we do have those lovely long winters. Excuse me. And that greenhouse helps them operate all year round now. You see we get a smaller turnout in winter because of course we do, but we're there quarter over quarter, really making an impact for our community and also for our fellow coworkers. And like I said, these events have given me great opportunities for both personal and professional development. And so SAP has awarded me every single year these excellence and volunteer leadership badges. And it's a little badge that I can put on my LinkedIn profile and also on my resume. And I made a LinkedIn post about one of these, and you can see here my boss and 45 others responded. So it's just a cool way to help me, again, build that brand and show the impact that I'm doing. And I share this not just to highlight myself, but really to serve as a call to action for you. I really encourage you to think about what are actions that you can take in your communities, in your workplaces, in your networks, to really take actions that harken back to your skills, your strengths, your personality, your vision for yourself, and to really own your own personal and professional development for the betterment of yourself and for your organizations and communities. So thank you very much. With that, we have 3 more call to actions. There's the community that Bob has referenced. We also have the SAP Concur Champions program. It's a really exciting program for you. It's designed to celebrate your passionate and most engaging customer moments day to day. And lastly, if you have any tips and tricks that you would like to share, again, if your persona is that of being an expert, if you're that teacher, that coach, that mentor in your organization, you can share your tips and tricks with us here. We also do encourage you to complete your survey for this session and for any others that you attend. We do read every single response, so we'd like to improve our future events. We really value any feedback that you